Space Reddit.
Former Disney theme park employees of Reddit. What are some dirty secrets or stories you can tell us about your time there? There are 3 hidden phones in the Magic Kingdom that when you pick up, have dialogue from Disney characters like a Stitch in Tomorrowland. My Sil got the role of Cinderella at Disneyland Paris. She had to practice Cinderella's autograph over and over because although different actresses play her all over the world, the signature of the character has to be identical anywhere it's signed for consistency. During the construction of Pandora at Animal Kingdom, a very beloved superintendent passed away on the project of an immediate heart attack. Mid-sentence and while opening the door to the construction trailer, George Burke just died. The project was very affected by this. His knowledge of the work that needed to be done was deep and irreplaceable. His laughter and personality was loved by all 1,400 workers that were there. A couple years after he passed, we were finishing the project and found the perfect way to pay homage to George. They invited his family to the middle of an active construction site to let them view it. George's red hard hat, with the black Nordic cross on top, was attached to the rockwork in the middle of the flowing river, to the left of the entrance to Flight of Passage, and plastered over. The family, friends, and a few Imagineers were the only people there. Only we can point out where the hard hat is underneath the plaster, theming, and plants. I revisit the spot every time I go back to Pandora. Peace. You have to be in specific height ranges to play the different characters. Because Mickey's height range is so short, he's usually played by a woman. Likewise for Donald. Although the most successful and best known Donald that I knew while I worked there was a little person. When the princess face characters come backstage, they have to take off their dresses so they don't get dirty while they're on break, so the princesses are usually walking around in a smock and bloomers if you see them back there. There is some serious cognitive dissonance when you walk back and see Snow White in her bloomers on her phone cursing up a storm. People sexually harass the characters super frequently. I was working with Ariel, and cast members will always count down before they take a photo so people have time to get into position. I counted down and this teen boy decided to try to rip off one of Ariel's shells. I had to open his camera and expose his film so the photo didn't get developed and passed around. I found out later that I was supposed to take it to the Kodak shop to have the film developed and that one removed, but I'd always heard the rumors about ruining the film and nobody really trains you on that, so I just went with it. The little assholes deserved it. This was years ago at DL, but there used to be a show of Tinkerbell flying through the sky before fireworks started in the summer. They would put the spotlight on her as she went down a zip line and go to black just as she crossed to a backstage area. The novelty of it was that there was no sophisticated mechanism to stop her. There were literally a couple of guys in a tower at the end of the zip line holding a mattress that she would crash into to stop. Nightly, CMS would gather at the base of the tower backstage just to see this happen. As soon as she crashed, everyone would go back to their locations. Former cast member from the early 90s. There was a central bank near the Magic Kingdom tunnel entrance where all the park gift shops, restaurants etc. would deposit the day's cash. Each day an armored truck would drive into the tunnel to haul away the loot. I can only imagine how much cash they took out of there. Disney Cruise Line here. I used to go into the complaints system and read all the guest complaints from previous cruises. The amount of complaints that were because of sheer stupidity on the guests' part is staggering. People seem to think because they're paying lots of money they're allowed to do or say whatever they want, which of course can be unsafe on a ship. This might break the magic. But a lot of Disney princes are gay. And also bad at sex. Looking at you, Aladdin/Navin. We also had a foreign crew member caught molesting a child and he was promptly thrown in jail. But you better believe that the media didn't cover it. Disney will give VIP treatments to wealthy people and celebrities, including being chauffeured from backstage between attractions, surrounded by a circle of cast members. I walked right past Justin Bieber and his family behind the Imagination Pavilion at Epcot without realizing it. I used to occasionally work at one of the outdoor carts in front of the castle at Disneyland. There's water in various areas of the park. So we got lots of ducks. And in the springtime, the babies would hatch and walk around with their mothers. People don't always pay attention to where they are going and sometimes step on one of them, usually killing them. If I was able, I would step away from my cart to escort a family of ducks to safety. Former Disneyland employee here. We see everything in the rides. There are cameras everywhere and we have night vision. Yes. I saw you cop a feel on your girl when you thought no one was watching. We actually care a lot about the guest experience. If someone drops their ice cream, I can get them a new one free of charge. It's called Keeping the Magic. In the Indiana Jones ride near the giant snakes after the bridge, there is a large metal slab on the ground. Under that slab is an opening that falls into a large empty space. The opening is in the middle of the space and about 10 feet high. There is no rope, no ladder and no stairs to reach the opening from inside the space. There are no other ways to get out of that space other than the opening in the ceiling, and there are no lights in the space. You could literally fall in there and be trapped forever in darkness if someone doesn't come and help you out. It is for this and many other reasons that there is a checkout system on the ride. If you enter the ride on foot, you take a card. When you return from the ride, you turn in the card. If any cards are missing, then the ride cannot be turned on and a search party must go out until that person is found. I worked there for 3 months 2 years ago with my GF at the time, and anything newsworthy that happens there, usually negative, immediately gets shot down by the official page of Disney. Twitter, Insta, Facebook, etc. They keep everything hush hush. Lighting struck a bathroom building and there was a small fire, and my GF and I weren't working that day, but we were there enjoying the park for free. BC, we're cast members, and she records it and posted it on her Twitter. News media pages were commenting and asking her questions like when, how, what's being done, and before she could reply, the Disney page said to disregard the video. BC, it wasn't true and the video is edited, and the media pages stopped asking after that. She gets called into the office the next day and was super close to losing her job. The reason she didn't was BC of how much seniority she had, but she was basically on probation after that. Disney is FBEEP, they don't tell people SPEEP. Not the theme parks. But I worked at the Disney store back when they first started popping up at all the malls. They made us sing the MICKEY song at the end of every staff meeting, and about half of the staff would cry when they sang it. Because they just loved Disney so much. They would send you home if you didn't have the Disney spirit, if you were in a visibly bad mood or unhappy. If you got sent home for this more than 3 times, they would fire you. This was back when the female employees wore what was basically a 50s style cheerleader costume, and we were constantly harassed. We were not allowed to be rude or dismissive when being harassed unless someone aggressively groped us. It was a super weird job. I worked at Kilimanjaro Safaris in Animal Kingdom. A little secret. We got paid $1 more than all other attractions because we not only spiel, but drive 35 guests in a truck on an uncontrolled trail. If we wanted to, we could have driven right out into the river where the crocs are and told you all to run. Hence the extra $1 an hour to keep us from doing something so crazy. Former cast member at one of Disney's retail stores, and I don't have any big secret because my time there was very temporary and short. But one of my managers was a demon. One of the meanest ladies I've ever met, and I'm surprised she even liked Disney. She had no consideration for anyone's time and would change my entire schedule and tell me about it at the very last minute. One of my shifts ended at 4 in the morning once, and she comes up to tell me she switched stuff around and expected me back in the store by 11 in the morning. I ended up quitting. Worked on the cruise ships for a year. Disney is super FBEEPed up. A crew member died from an unknown illness a few years back, and after a year or so the body still hasn't been returned to the family. Despite their protests, and Disney were refusing to return it for a reason I can't quite remember. It was something along the lines of didn't not wanting an investigation on the body so they wouldn't get in trouble. Not a Disney employee. But hear me out. I was a bartender at a popular bar that, because of some technicalities, was considered to be a part of the Disney World property. After midnight, most of if not all of our regulars were students from the Disney College program. Disney employees are not, under any circumstances, allowed to leave Disney in their costumes. Enter us. A brilliant loophole for young employees who want to grab a drink after work before retiring to their Disney apartments. Have you ever seen a drunk, headless Winnie the Pooh fall down a flight of stairs? I have. The craziest thing I remember happening was when Lilo decided to toss a drink on an Epcot Germany employee, who knew that she would most likely get fired for having alcohol stains on her lederhosen. I miss that place.
Space Reddit.